Karatina University was essentially what we call a South-South exchange program, which aims to support countries within the region, to provide a platform or a forum, if you like, to exchange information, share best practices in the climate and forestry arena, but also agriculture. Countries give examples of what they have done, in particular in addressing climate change, what we call mitigation, the actions they are taking to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, or adaptation, what measures are countries putting in place to enhance resilience.
Mimi mwenyewe nilikuwa na ng'ombe karibu 300 na saa hii nina ng'ombe karibu 40 tu. Saa hii umasikini umeingia kwangu kwa ajili tu ya mvua.
Tanzania, kwa sababu nina uzoefu na nchi yangu. Sisi we have a lot. We have a very big land and we have a lot of resources and we are so relaxed. Maji hakuna, fertility inapungua.
I was very excited getting the invitation, thinking to meet other activists, to hear from their successful stories, and also to share our own experience, and also to look for possible networking.
We have invited a special group of people here who are the women in agriculture, the women in small-scale farming, the women who are actually affected by climate change. They provide food for the family. They are the major source of livelihoods for the African community. So we have invited them. Then we have the young people, the Nature Club members, young researchers.
As crisis face us even as women, don't go and hide yourself in the bedroom and say, it is difficult, it is not working, it is hard. Raise up your head and say, this crisis is presenting itself as is right now. But what can I do to rise above it so that it works? It works for me.
The focus of this meeting is on production of deforestation-free purple tree, tea.
Kenya is one of the greatest producers of tea in the world. We also have tea in Rwanda, we have tea in Uganda, we have tea in Tanzania and Ethiopia. Tea results to deforestation first. Tea farms were established by clearing forests. So we are asking, how can we grow tea without deforesting? So Karatina University is now coming with the new innovation which has been developed. That is the purple tea. Purple tea may not require this kind of deforestation.
Mimi ni mkulima na nimekuja conference nijifunze zaidi kuhusu purple tea. Challenge yenye iko ni ile tu haina factory yao ya hii purple tea. Ni ile tu tunapanda tunaweka na hii ya green. Saa bei ya green iko chini. Wananunua na hiyo bei ya green. Hiyo ndio challenge. Bei kienda juu, at least it improves living standard.
If we could develop this, one, we will enhance our exports by selling it just like we buy. We'll reduce the imports from other countries. When people take this, it means we'll also reduce lifestyle diseases that are affecting us. We'll reduce the budget for medical expenses.
Being a green university, we seize the opportunity so that we can showcase to the global community what Karatina University is doing. The knowledge from the scholars has been brought down to simplicity so that these women, these youth, these young researchers are able to understand the real impact. And so Climate Action Africa has driven that actionably and come to ensure that the research that is done globally in high-level scientific forums is disseminated to this local person?
Knowledge. First of all, I'm a lover of nature. Second of all, when I learn something, I believe I'll share it to someone else. Like, if I tell you you should not cut a tree and you don't know the importance of not cutting a tree, you are likely to cut the tree. But when you're knowledgeable, you will know the importance and you will refrain from cutting down trees, which will also protect climate change.
The most address climate change in our country to take is, the first one is to mitigations. The one major is to mitigation. That means to change the radical actions on the climate change by reducing the amount of green gas emitted into the atmosphere. This can be done by using different forestry activities. Afforestation, reforestation, forest management, the conservation is the one way of mitigating climate change, decreasing the amount of carbon dioxide, reducing it to atmosphere. In other case, it can be increasing the sequestration amount of carbon dioxide in the forest stock. This is the one way of mitigating climate change. The second one is by adaptations, recovering to some extent, how to recover, how to resist, to increase the resistance capacity of climate change by using different mechanisms. So by these two systems, it can be solved or recover the risk of the climate change which are occurring today.
Karatina University vision is to be a university of global excellence, meeting the dynamic needs and development of the society. What better way to meet the dynamic needs of the society other than addressing how to mitigate climate change? The youths and the women are particularly of interest. We call them the vulnerable groups. Let me start with the women. The woman runs the home. When there's no water in the home, the man is not bothered. The man wants to eat and he wants to bathe. He doesn't want to hear that there's no water. This woman will trek many kilometers to go and look for water. When that river that they use for drawing water is dry, she's the one who is feeling the pain, the impact of climate change. So this particular conference decided to bring the women on board, particularly those working in the tea sector, because they are negatively impacted by the impacts of climate change. They feel the pain of climate change more than any other person. For the youth, we brought them on board because we want to mentor them on research on climate change. And if you look at the abstract booklet, most of the topics they're working on is addressing climate change in one way or another. So we are mentoring them as older academicians with my colleagues to start research on climate change, because without research, we cannot mitigate climate change. We've got to do research, we've got to understand the global change, the global climate change. We've got to understand how we are going to mitigate this. As we were told by the professor of Kiswahili, we are now going to change our tactic because he's saying that we are talking to ourselves, talking in English. We want to reach the common person on the ground. The people who can do that research, at my age, I'm not going to be expected to go and climb Mount Kenya, to go and collect data on the ecosystem changes. The youth. They're the people we are mentoring to do research on climate change. So the youth come in terms of research, the women come in as vulnerable group that are negatively affected. Yeah. To me, this is very, very critical for us, because if the impact is great, look at the women that have come, look at the youth, look at the scientists that have been here. At the end of it, we are carrying the message back home. All of us has a role to play in mitigating climate change.